all right, I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to sit right here. I feel like this is the best place for me to not get distracted. We can just watch the people go by, the city of New York, and talk about Spider-Man and this third part here. And then I'm actually going to upload. I got like a ton of videos, I feel like, and I need to upload. I love this though. It's raining outside. It's raining here. Um, and we're just going to hang out perched up on this street sign and check out, like I said, Solid Gold and the rest of New York. We'll pan over here a little bit, see what's happening down this alleyway as well, and just kind of hang out. Now, I wanted to talk about Spider-Man, but I keep getting a little distracted. My thoughts are a little all over the place. I went and saw it on Friday. I've done a couple of little videos talking about the movie in general, how much I liked it, how much I love it. It's just a good movie. I feel like you take out Spider-Man, and it just works as a fun Peter Parker movie. And that is important because I feel like for me, Peter Parker is the character that I also fell in love with. And it's just like, I feel like his story, his character development is just as, if not more important than the character development of Spider Man himself. Now, it's a fun Spider Man movie. It's got all the quips and all of that. I even love like Tom Holland's, like, I feel like his accent in this movie is a lot more solid, a lot better. Um, it feels so much like these Sony games, and this is probably my favorite like Spider-Man story is the Sony Spider-Man games, and I feel like this movie is probably one of the best achievements since like Into the Spider-Verse and the very first Spider-Man film. I feel like that very first Spider-Man film gave us all of the swinging, the flips, the action, everything that we're used to from the Spider-Man comic book for the first time on the screen. And then from there, we just kind of built on that spectacle and that wonder of what it is to be, you know, um, a viewer or part of that Spider-Man story. And I also feel like with some of the Tom Holland movies and some of the MCU stuff, it's gotten a little big for its britches. Like to me, that Andrew Garfield, Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, is just it's peak Spider-Man storytelling. Like it's so rich into the vein of what it is to be like an actual Spider-Man story. And I think so much of that is because it's such a New York story. And that's what this movie feels like to me as well. Like such a New York um, film. And again, I just feel like it's one of the best Spider-Man experiences we've got since the very first experience into Spider-Man in the live-action universe. I mentioned before, I love where they've taken some of the characters. We've got our introduction into the X-Men with Sadie Sink playing Jean Grey. It reestablished the angry, mindless, incredible Hulk that we grew up with and that we kind of fell in love with from the original films. Frank Castle's Punisher, I don't think has been any better than what we have right now. We've had so much of his development done through the shows and the different television series over the years that to finally get him in, and it's not just a little bit like, it's not just that little scene we have in the beginning, and I feel like I said they've got a big history, so I'm hoping we get more of them. But there's a lot of screen time. I feel like this is just as much a Punisher movie and like a Spider-Man movie as it is like a Peter Parker film too. Like it's a lot of Frank Castle and the interaction between like him and Mary Jane. It's absolutely amazing. Mary Jane isn't that like glum, moody teenager that we find her as in the very first movie. Um, she's a bit grown up. She's still kind of moody, but she's more of like an adult, and she's got like an actual personality and some charm about her. And it's fun to see her click with Frank because they both are, I think, in the very heart of who they are, like just like movie kind of characters. And one of my favorite moments is when she's in his hideout and she starts kind of like going through things. And he's like, there's one rule: you don't touch my stuff, you don't move my stuff, and you sure as shit don't ask me any questions about anything. And she's like, okay, so three rules. And she's not like off put by him. She's not like insulted or thrown off. And I believe in an interview they said that originally she would be like kind of off put by him and like, you know, I don't want to stay here with him or, um, kind of like, who is this guy? But when it came to the table read, Zendaya was like, no, like, I feel like, she would like this guy a lot. And even Tom Holland was like, oh, of course you would. And that's even in the movie. Like, that's a direct line from the movie where they're kind of hanging out and, he says something that I think would make most people kind of like off put or maybe upset or whatever. And she's just like, I like this guy. And, Spidey's like, well, of course you would. So there's a ton of him in there. And I hope that there's rumors that we're going to get a Punisher film. So I'm just like really hoping that we do because, again, I feel like he's done such a great job, John, kind of establishing that character on screen in the television show that, we can get a fully kind of fleshed out, developed character on the screen that you don't need a lot of movies to kind of set up for. So their back and forth was really fun. There was a really great piece where, you have with MJ and Parker that wonder, like, is she going to remember anything about their past? And you get that moment where you think she does, and you find out again it's just Jean Grey kind of doing her thing and manipulating, and that it really is gone. Like, there really is no way to kind of get that back. But I wonder at the end, with everything that Jean Grey is capable of, when she does put that, like, force field out across New York, if she doesn't, it's like I said, she re-scrambles the Hulk's brain and kind of resets him. Um, at the very end of the movie, Ned and Peter, when Peter finally goes back up and reintroduces himself, they have the whole handshake bit, and then he's like Peter, and he remembers who he is. MJ's kind of like fiddling with her necklace and kind of smiling,
Wonder what kind of trouble Shocker's into this time.
and I wonder if while that force field was going on, if she didn't, not necessarily like unlock the memories, but make it so those thoughts were there. When Jean Grey in one of the X-Men films puts her hands on Logan, I think I don't think it's the Apocalypse Now, or which one is it? It might be actually, but like Logan's the Weapon X experiment, and she puts his hands on his head and kind of like frees his mind a little bit, but also like unlock some of his memories. And so I'm just wondering, like, with that force field, if she didn't necessarily like unlock those memories, but maybe take down some of the walls. That's probably a good way to put it. Like, kind of take down some of the walls that the spell put up. Um, because I kind of feel like it doesn't necessarily say for sure, but I feel like MJ remembers as well. Like, we know Ned knows. Like, Ned 100% remembers who Peter is. Um, but they just kind of hint at the fact that um, MJ does. Um, I love the um, idea too that like Parker could be going through a metamorphosis where he has a more natural um, web shooter, which that could be something that they maybe do the mutant bit further down the road. I don't know, or if this is just part of like his, his current evolution. Because like again, they mentioned in the movie that, like a spider evolves, he's kind of evolving and changing as well. So like, it's just part of his thing, and now he shoots organic webs. Um, his spidey sense seems to be like way like overpowered right now, and I guess he's got it under control. That shot that is in the trailer where he pulls apart the sword. You're thinking he's gonna like Hulk out or mutate out or do his thing there, but really he just that's when he owns like who he is, and just like accepts like this new level of power. And like the whole thing, like they're throwing like the ninja stars at him, and he's dodging all of those, and then he's like actually like shooting his own webs. I'm just wondering, like, is that something they're going to keep going with in the next film? Like, is he going to have his own organic web shooters like Toby now? I feel like that's kind of a jab at Andrew, because Andrew already kind of feels like the baby brother, or maybe even the middle brother of the group. Like gets the less attention, and then it's going to be like, oh great, I've got to make my web shooters, and both of you guys have organic web shooters. So I don't know what they're going to do with that. And then there's some things too, like that did stand out that I thought was kind of weird. Like I mentioned the force field that Jean Grey puts over Manhattan and New York and all of that, and kind of like locks the whole place down. The one thing that did bother me was like the Punisher shoots that bullet, which I love that whole sequence. But he shoots the bullet like through the force field, and I'm just like wondering like what the hell was that bullet made out of, to where like that force field was like flipping trucks and stopping objects in mid motion, but yet this bullet could like penetrate right through it. I don't know. But that whole scene was cool, and I love the fact that like Peter lets Jean Grey like into his head, and it's not necessarily Peter or Spider-Man who saves the day, but her Aunt May, excuse me, because I was about to say Mary Jane, but Aunt May who winds up saving the day, and like her whole speech, which I thought was just really perfect. Even though she passes in the last film, she's still able to make an appearance in the film through like Peter's memories of her. And my whole worry was like, is Jean going to go too far in this movie? Is she going to wind up killing somebody? Um, because like I didn't want her to go into the X-Men universe. Like we know what Jean is capable of as Phoenix. She's killed off Professor. She's killed off Cyclops. She almost killed off Wolverine. And so we know what she's capable of. Mystique. It's just like she's taken out a lot of people. And so I didn't want her to go into this new franchise with like blood already on her hands. So I was glad Spider-Man was able to save her, but then also able to like save her soul. And but at the same time, it was really like Aunt May who did it. It was like Aunt May's words, very similar to like how I guess like Uncle Ben is always there and kind of like in Peter's head and keeping him on track. In this universe, it's Aunt May, and she's not only saving like Peter and keeping him safe, but now has kind of like given Jean a chance to, um, you know, go on and get some redemption and start a new life. And know that she's not alone. So I'm excited to see like what her next step is and where she goes. And then you got to see her like actually evolve in um, the movie. Once she gets abducted and she realizes that VMAX is nothing more than Ventmax, which that was crazy. I kept thinking VMAX 2 had something to do with Venom, like it was Venom Max, um, Carnage, or something like that. And then to find out it was nothing but a ventilation label. But then Jean realizes her sister's dead. She died in the hands of you know, of the DOC, Bill Mitzer. And as they're trying to, contain her and all that, um, she actually evolves, and you get to see that happen, like on screen, and what that looks like, because as it's been stated, that the powers of the mutants are simply like powers that evolve, and they show her, like, I guess, through like heightened stress and like fear and anger and all of that, like she evolves and her powers get greater, and that was really cool to see that actually happen on screen. So, like I said, this movie just gave us so much. So many, and I'm sure there's like little things that I didn't even notice. Um, going into this um, film, like with like this, again, being put together so well and so fluid. It was almost like listening to a really good rap song. Like where you're caught up on one scene, and then the very next scene picks up. You're like, whoa, wait, what did I just see? And I was hoping for something like in the Fantastic Four movie, where you got all of like those quick shots of different characters, because I figured that's what that would be like with the Tarantula, Ramrod, Boomerang. Like those would just be kind of like part of a montage, and that was really cool too, because I didn't want to get caught up in like, okay, well, who is this character? Where did he come from? I think it's just important to know that like Spider-Man's got a arm length list of goofy bad guys who dressed up in costumes, and he's always running around trying to take one out after the other. He's like literally just trying to go see a. Oh shit! Speaking of damage control, that's fucking awesome. That's literally in the movie. Like, oh, let me see. I'm gonna get over there. Just want to like web hop. I don't want to. I don't want to have to swing. All right, I'm gonna swing, I guess. That's so awesome. That's literally where I was saying, like, he goes to the building and he fights those guys and he like webs them up. This is so rad. So this is basically, oh my god, I wonder. This looks just like that scene in the movie.
Robbery in progress. Incident is ongoing near 2 bridges.
That is crazy. And like he like breaks in up here. That is so dope. Wow. I can't get over it. That is so freaking cool. Like, I thought it was just cool like the DOC was in the game. But here it is. Like, this is where he goes to the very top. Like I said, he fights these guys, and as he's fighting them, like, he literally like webs them up like right up here. That's so rad. I wanted to go there. There we go. There we go. Gosh, yeah. What else? What else was I saying? I don't even know anymore. You got the evolution, Jean, her thing. Yeah, I don't know. I guess again the only thing I can say is like the end. I kind of mentioned this too. Like everybody feels like there's going to be an introduction of Miles Morales in this film. I've seen a lot of things where people are like, "Oh, I think that was Gwen Stacy," and it's like, no, that's just some girl that lives in his apartment complex. I've seen a lot of hints that there could be a young kid who plays Miles, but I think again these are just like random extras in the film. I don't think they're going to let a character that major come into the franchise through some random side, meaning like they would literally like have an established actor cast ready to go, kind of hinted at that setup. There's nothing like that in this film, and like I said, the idea that the post-credit scene is Miles Morales is not. You can see through Ned's Spidey tracker that there is an unknown Spider-Man located on the Spider tracker, and it shows Earth, and then it shows unknown Spider-Man, not our Spider-Man, but an unknown Spider-Man off in outer space. And I don't think that's Miles Morales for two reasons. One, Miles Morales has already been established in those films. In the very first one, Homecoming, Danny Glover plays his uncle Aaron, and that character references Miles in the movie. So Miles already exists in this universe. He's already there. He just hasn't been cast as a character yet. But I think in Spider-Man we have Yelena, and I think her popping up was kind of random but very important because it hinted at the existence of the Thunderbolts in her world, and I think that's where the end credit scene really plays in. The very end of Thunderbolts, you have that Fantastic Four ship just kind of show up in outer space, and then the same thing kind of happens at the end of the Spider-Man movie. Like this thing just kind of shows up in outer space. And I think what we're going to find is that there's a Spider-Man on that ship coming to help out Thor and whoever else is on the vessel when they get here. Um, so I think that's kind of like the only big setup that we have to like Doomsday and all of that. But I kind of feel like what Doomsday is going to be is kind of like a whole new story, like a brand new chapter. Um, you know, Brand New Day, I think, kind of helps reestablish some of the stuff going on in this world, like the X-Men existing and so forth. But I don't think what we're going to see is like this isn't a part of a build-up. Like Spider-Man isn't part of a build-up to like Thanos or something like that. This is something different. This is like its own thing, its own solid standalone movie, and um, I think Doomsday is going to be the kickoff to a whole new story, and then we'll get characters like Spider-Man and X-Men and Fantastic Four included in that story. Like that, that's how that's going to work out. Not necessarily the reverse of where we'll have like an X-Men movie, a Fantastic Four movie, of this, of that, and then that's going to like lead up to this big event that we've had in the past. Um, but yeah, so don't go to Spider-Man looking for a lot of crazy MCU like Easter eggs, setup, lead-in kind of things. Don't stick around at the end of the movie looking for like Thor's hammer to appear or anything weird like that. Don't expect Venom. Don't expect a symbiote. Don't expect a mutant spider. Um, don't expect anything really bizarre. Just go in and expect a really cool Spider-Man movie. Uh, said it just doesn't really get any better, and it's about time that we got a seasoned, well versed Spider-Man. You kind of see him going in and just doing his thing. There's not all of that goofy. Like it was fun to go back and watch like Homecoming and see all that funny, goofy slapstick silliness, and then you get to this one, and he's kind of Spider-Man's kind of a badass in this movie. Like uh, doesn't pull a lot of punches, doesn't take a lot of shit.
Attention units, we've got a 10-10 possible narcotics sale. Proceed to 2 bridges. Over.
Kind of kind of goes in and gives it the all. In the narcotic sale. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up this video uh, with that. And I swear, I think this is going to be my last bit on um, my
Drug deals
Spider-Man
and
story.
criminals.
But
They go together
I think
like
I'll do
cookies and
more
milk.
on this because this is a fun game to play. I've missed this a lot. And it's been cool to go back and, like I said, to do this because, what the heck is this? This is kind of cool though. I like this game, and I've been wanting to go back and play all these Marvel games. Honestly, I think this is the biggest compliment to the movie is that it just made me want to come home, read the books, play the games, watch all the other movies again. It's just really, really, really solid. So make sure you get out there, make sure you see it. Let me know what some of your favorite parts are. Like I said, there's just so much. I don't even know if I could just, I could spend 2.5 hours just talking about the movie. So make sure you like, share, subscribe for more content, more videos, more Spider-Man stuff. I'm probably going to play like all 3 Spider-Man games. I never finished Spider-Man 2, and I never even played, or I never finished Spider-Man Miles Morales. I never played Spider-Man 2. So this is going to be fun. It's going to be fun. So make sure you follow for more of those. Share this to get some more people involved in all of this. Most importantly, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Until next time, don't spend that quarter anywhere else.
Hey guys, you got prescriptions for this stuff?